Totally. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah.
Well,
Keep us on track.
Yes.
from your mouth to God's ears. Okay.
True, baby. Speak it true.
Yes. Here we are, so excited for this episode, the next episode of PRGirl Talk. We have with us today Hayden, and I've been practicing her name so I can get it right. Hayden Van Hulzen, welcome to the show. So good to have you.
Seriously, thank you. I'm so excited about this. Once you guys reached out, I was like, this is exactly where I want to be. Thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet. This is like, you know, Fallon can talk about it too, but like creating this concept for the reality show that we have, and then now this talk show, because we're living in quarantine and COVID-19 world where we can't be with each other. I can't actively, even think about a next season yet, but I was like, how do we keep this energy and this love and this passion for what you guys do every day and the audience that we've been able to build going? And this is like the answer I came up with. But hey, Fallon, you look adorable in your pink top.
Thanks so much. ALC sample sale on my clients.
I love it.
I love how you're always representing, and it's not, I never know. I
don't have time to shop. So it's like the people like ask me about that. Cause like, yeah, I do have okay style because guess what? I have awesome clients that like clothe me. But that's the only time I'm shopping is like when I'm working these days. But
yeah,
thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm running a little late. So much going on today.
You just landed from LA. What were you doing in LA?
Yeah, so I took the red eye last night. I was really hoping to sleep. That did not happen because, Hayden, to your point, I'm like always just thinking of a million other things going on. So many ideas, but I feel like the juices are finally back and like flowing again now that we get to get out and travel and experience. So the past few days I was planning an experiential retreat for Vital Proteins for their social and engagement team. So we're out in like deep Malibu, and I got to plan 3 days of fitness activities and team bonding and all that fun stuff. Kept it like super healthy, very like deep into nature, very little cell service, but it was lovely. So I had to come back for another client. We did a launch today for Of Me's Med Studio and doing a little celebrity work there. And I actually have to head back to LA tomorrow morning for a meeting. So just back and forth.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for
gracing
us with your presence.
I get to be home for a little, so I'm thrilled.
Oh my God. Okay. So let me just introduce Hayden to the audience so they know who we're talking to tonight and like why her opinion matters about things. So Hayden is the founder and CEO of HVH Media and Marketing. And for the past 7 years, they've been tailor-making personalized strategic marketing plans for their clients by utilizing a cyclical network of media outlets, reaching specific target audiences and creating relationships. And you're doing that out of Scottsdale, right? Arizona. And I'm not done. She's also the co-founder and VP of marketing of 21 North Agency, which is the digital consulting division of the HVH Media and Marketing Agency we just talked about. And that firm is out of LA. Am I right about that? Okay.
Yep.
So that is you. I need you to explain to the audience, because as a person who has multiple businesses, who is a mom also, who has, a significant other, like, how did you get literally here where you are today? And then we'll get into today's topic.
I love this. You know what's funny? And I think one of my favorite things when people get asked this question is everyone always wants to make it seem so glamorous. They're like, oh, I just skated by and I fell into this. I'm like, it was hard work. It was hard work, and it was very strategic relationships. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I had just followed the rules. That's really how I feel about it. I took a lot of risks, and I had a lot of great people around me that helped motivate me to take those risks. I had a lot of pain too, and people who screwed me over and almost forced me to fail my way into working my way back up. You know what I mean? It's like you have something happen in your life where you start to experience what it really means to create relationships that could potentially disappoint you and take those risks that could be so dangerous but could also be so lucrative and profitable. And I finally just had enough experiences that all came together. I actually really hit rock bottom one point where it was like, went through a divorce, lost like a director level, like C-level position because the person I had been working for died in a plane crash with my assistant. Oh yeah, like bomb dropping stuff, family left, all kinds of things. And it was like, I hit this point where I was like, I can either sit here and cry in a puddle or I can go make something of myself. And I armed myself with all of the necessary things that I had. I went out, I started creating really strategic relationships, and I got myself into the rooms with some of the most influential people on the planet, and by being a good, genuine, authentic person with great ideas. And that's not to toot my own horn, but that is kind of where I started. And I even did it by branding myself. And I was like I said, you know, previously, it's like, you can't market yourself. Why would anyone want to trust me to market them? And that's how I've even gotten here today. It's like, you guys found me because I put enough content out there that takes some risks, but has a lot of really good, powerful messaging behind it that relates to a lot of people. And it's scary putting yourself out there like that, but it brought me to this point, so I don't regret any of it.
That's awesome. Oh my God. We could spend an hour talking about that whole story that you just that you just gave us. But that is fantastic. And it really makes me excited about today's topic because, like, you know, I'm okay tooting my own horn in 2020. Like, I've told the audience now, listen, we all have to now be in a place of telling the truth, being unapologetic, and really bringing our most authentic self forward. So the fact that the three of us are beautiful, beautiful women, we're super intelligent, we're a million other things besides all of those things, right? Today, I wanted to talk about this whole dynamic of the fact that women are so multifaceted, we're so diverse in what we are, but there's still this like weird battle that exists. And like, I'm trying to think of the right word. I guess it's a stereotype. It's a stereotype of you can't be all of these things at once, right? Like you can't be sexy and be like super intelligent or mom, right? At the same time. You can't be, you know, this and that. You can't be black and love country music. You can't be, you know, like all these things. It's like, but why not? And like, where did that come from and all these things? So that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about today and like, see if we can solve it and make something different for our daughters, right? For your son, for Fallon, when you become a mom, if you become a mom, like how do we change that for girls? So I want to start with why, right? Like, why do we think this dynamic exists where if you are, and Hayden, we'll start with you because everyone knows I have to like stalk our guests, right? To come up with questions and things that matter to them and to our audience. And like, you have a great example on your personal branding for your Instagram. You show your audience, all of you, right? You're sexy, you're a businesswoman, you're a mother, you know, you're a social influencer. Why do you think, let's start with why. Why do you think it's so hard for people to see women like us for all that we are and not just one of those things?
I love this topic so much. And when I got it in my feed, I was like, thank God we're going to touch on this because I preach about it constantly, down to I make TikTok videos about it, educating people on it, because one of the things that I struggle so much with is that it's not even just the opposite sex that's boxing us into this very linear idea of what you can be. It's like you are allowed to be one role, and if you're not one role, then you're doing a bad job. And it's like, well, why? And the answer is really just comes down to it's society, it's societal norms and mores that have been passed down over time, which we know is always so problematic. And people get so rigid and fixed in these ideals that they don't give any room for any kind of change. And I always get so frustrated because that whole idea of mom shaming or slut shaming or anything in general, it doesn't even just come from the opposite sex who doesn't understand. It comes from other women. And those are the people I get most disappointed in. As much as, you know, men shouldn't be able to speak on it, we shouldn't be surprised that they can't understand. But other women should definitely be able to understand. And I've had so many instances where people will be like, oh, you're wearing a bikini? You're a mother. What would your son think? And I'm like, I don't know, that I'm in a bikini and that he got here because I had sex. Don't tell anyone. Like, I'm a person. I'm not just a mom. I'm a human. And frankly, I want him to know that his mother is this multifaceted being. And as women, we have to stop across the board with men and amongst ourselves, assuming that one thing negates the other. Each individual characteristic can be based on merit. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm in a bikini, but like, why all of a sudden is my IQ different? It was fine a minute ago when I had this dress on, or I had a suit on, or whatever. It's like we assign so much like gender to certain things, and it's like it completely boxes us in and limits us. And it's incredibly hard as a woman in business. Yeah. And I'm thinking about it anytime I'm posting or doing anything, and it's like, well, why? Do men? Oh.
No. No, they don't. They don't have to think about a lot of things that we have to think about. Fallon, why do you think it's so hard for, to Hayden's point, both men and women? And for this conversation, we can just focus on women because it is really more, you know, if we changed how we thought about this, then men would have no choice but to just get on board with the new thing, right? So why do you think this is something we have to deal with?
Yeah, good question. I don't know exactly, like, I don't know if I have an opinion exactly on why it is. The core, like, it's kind of one of those unspoken things that I can't really quite understand myself, like why this exists and why I personally feel like I need to have this like almost framework to how I live my life and that I have to be in this one lane. Because like I wasn't necessarily like raised that way, right? Like my mom, who we've met many times on the show, has sort of supported and encouraged us to be whoever the heck we want to be and embrace like all the best versions of ourselves and never to put ourselves in one box and try and experience everything. So like it wasn't my upbringing necessarily, right? So like I'm sitting here a little stunned myself, like how, like where did this begin? Like what is this, where did this derive from? So I think what I can't speak to though is like my personal experience and just feeling like I struggle constantly with that personal and that professional balance, right? Like what is appropriate, what's inappropriate, how do I maintain this level of respect while still being myself? And for years and years I've struggled with this idea of like wanting this framework, like someone just please give me this little formula so that I can filter all of my content before I post it. And all this formula that I wanted to do is I have this idea and I present the formula and I run the idea through it. And it's like, does it check this box, and this box? And if so, it's postable. If not, you can't post. And I'm like starting to think, and then all of a sudden it just hit me. I'm like, the concept of overthinking my authentic self, that's where the problem begins, right? So like boiling it down, who is Fallon like as raw as it can be? So I sit in the mirror and I think about it with this piece of content I want to post, and I'm like, I'm even confused, right? What it all boils down to for me, at least, is joy. What makes me happy? Because joy is like the one thing that I think sets me free. I can be having a really tough day, a really hard conversation, be in a predicament of trying to choose between two different things, right? I'm talking in the realm of posting because I think that's how, especially in this day and age, how a lot of us are projecting our personality and communicating. But it's more than that. It's like, what do I stand for in my career and my personal life? And it's joy. Like what makes me happy? And if it makes me happy, it makes me smile, it makes me feel excited, that is worth sharing, that is worth being. And whether it fits into one box or another box, the linear there and the thread that ties it together is that it makes me happy. What makes me happy makes me me. And that's really what sets me free from this idea that I have to be one thing. So I thought I would share that because it's like this struggle that, and I'm still struggling with it, but I think more recently, this ideal framework that I've been searching for just lies right there with that question. Like, does it actually bring you joy? And if it does, it's authentic to you, and that's worth being that thing. So I'm constantly just trying to like fight that battle of being one thing.
I love that, Fallon. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, if Alex were here with us tonight, she would just say, it's because of the male patriarchy that, you know.
I'm going to go that route, but yes, patriarchal society, back from history. I say it all the time too, and you're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, that, you know, it's true that there was a time that a woman's only role was in the house. And that was the only thing that was acceptable. So in the house, you're a mother and a wife. And probably not even in that order. It's like you're a wife and a mother, right? And then if you dared step out of that and be anything else, as time went on, and this is just my pontification on it, but as time went on, then the people who we thought we had to ask permission to be more than just a wife or more than just a mother was like, fine, okay, what do you want? You want to paint? Fine, now you're a painter. But if you wanted to do other things, it was like, what else do you want? It's almost like we were made to feel selfish for doing exactly what you're describing, Fallon, just exploring the things that bring you joy and then doing those things and being those things. So I thought it would be interesting if we all just kind of list like our ingredients. This is what I call it. Like, what have you even spent any time thinking, like if you had to list, like I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, what are your ingredients? Or if Fallon was asking it, like, what are the things that bring you joy that you're okay putting a title to, right? Because I think that's where it starts. Like if you understand that list for yourself, then you're okay putting those things out into the world and being all those things at the same time, right? So maybe Hayden, we'll start with you. Like if someone was like, give me 3 or 5 things that Hayden is, who is Hayden? What are those things? What are your ingredients?
Well, the one thing I always am first is mom, regardless of the fact that I'm also a business owner first. I'm a daughter, I'm a significant other, I'm a friend. But then when you would piece all that stuff together, they have so many layers, you know? I'm still sexy and I'm smart and I'm funny, but I'm nurturing and caring. And I feel like that's exactly what we're kind of going for. It's like we have all these titles and we're made to feel like they conflict or they're different or they can't be done together. But yeah, I really feel like I embody all of those things. Yeah. And intelligent and sexy, normally you don't get to stay together, but you're like, I'm both.
Exactly. What about you, Fallon?
So interesting timing that we're talking about this topic. Over the weekend, I'm like, I don't even know what day it is. This weekend like makes sense in this strain of the week, so it's Thursday. That's so right. Last weekend I opened a book called The Clifton Strength Experience by Gallup. I don't know if this rings a bell for anyone, but essentially you take like a test on your personality traits. And the idea is that like our society kind of focuses so much on improving our weaknesses, right? Like we find things we're not good at and we focus on those things to improve instead of taking the things we're already good at and just excelling those strengths that could probably like move us a little further in the ladder, right? And what this test does is it identifies like your 5 areas of strength, and then it takes like the DNA of those 5 areas and tells you like different ways to improve it if it's something that works really well in your professional life or your personal life. Okay, long story longer. I know my 5 strengths, so I'll just share those. It made it really easy. I didn't have to think about it on the spot. But so I was made up of like empathy was one of them. Achievement or achiever was another one, right? So like empathy, like obviously like I'm a very caring person. I like to put myself in other people's shoes and understand what they're going through in my personal life, but I definitely take that in my professional life. Achiever, just like doing the most and like working as hard as I possibly can. Definitely, we've learned through the show that I love to overwork myself. Belief, so having like a value proposition and like my morals are so important to me. I think that's really important in a lot of working relationships, personal relationships, the best relationships. Communication, talking, right? That's why we're all publicists in this career. And my fifth one was positivity. So like, I'm told all the time that I'm like such a positive person, something that I always am trying to strive to do more of and don't totally notice myself, but I think it's an innate quality. So
I love it.
me, yeah. But I'm telling you, I'm only halfway through the book because you do the quiz first and then you work through how to capitalize on all these things. Trust me, there's plenty of scores that I scored a 0 on. It doesn't focus on that. Like it takes those things that it feels like you're made up of. This is what makes you you, explores and grows that. So highly recommend.
Yeah, I'll find a creative way to let the audience know like about that book. For me, I am obviously I'm a mom, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a wife. I'm a feeler, like I'm really emotional. And I mean that for what it means, right? Like I'm proud of being emotional. I am in touch with my feelings. I'm a nurturer. I think that's why I'm good at business, because I enjoy being able to create something which is not too dissimilar from like birthing a human, right? Like creating a business and then giving it all the things that it needs to thrive and grow. So I do a lot of comparison in like motherhood and running a business where, okay, my baby needs milk and diaper changes and cuddles and warmth. And, you know, a business needs good talent, needs, clients, it needs this, and this, right? So it's just like giving the plant the water and the sunlight exposure it needs. So, like, I really enjoy that process. And I'm a creative. I'm surprised either one of you guys said that because you're both creatives too.
Creative. Yeah, it's a good one.
Because it's really part of my, like, especially living through this year. If I didn't have outlets to create things like what we're doing now, or my book and future things, like I would not be the version of myself that you guys see in front of you right now. So if I'm not making something or thinking about making something, I am not in an okay space. So yeah, that's me. So I wonder, because I definitely have stories, at this part of this length of my career, and I'm sure you guys too. Has there been a time where someone, you've kind of shown them who you are, the multi parts of you, and they are just adamant on putting you in a box, right? Give us an example of a time that's happened and what you did about it and what the outcome was. Hayden, we'll go back to you.
So even though I have a ton of just very specific instances, I'd like to talk about this one a little more generally because a lot of these instances, they're all kind of the same thing. And I actually talked about this in a blog because it is something that's so disheartening to me in business. I get this question a lot where they're like, what's the hardest thing about being a woman in business? And I'm like, I really struggle with the fact that men will utilize the idea that I'm a businesswoman. They'll activate, coming in through the platform. They'll see a picture of me. They'll engage me like they want to sit down for a discovery meeting or a call just to get access to ask me out on a date. And it's wasted a ton of my time. It is so incredibly offensive. That is my livelihood. And it has happened way more than I would like to admit. And part of the way that I ended up dealing with it is really going through checks and balances. You know what I mean? Like now I have someone else that has to actually filter that process for me that will meet with them. But just the fact that I have to have someone filter out a direct lead that would come into, and not in the way that we filter out just from, but that's so upsetting to me. And that's getting boxed in. It's men coming in and seeing me for, my physiognomy before they're even bothering to identify if I have any value elsewhere. It's like you immediately make me a physical object. Mm-hmm. And with all of the things I've done and all the accomplishments I have, it is one of the things that when I was first starting out my business that used to really keep me up at night, because I don't want to miss leads, but I also don't want to just be hired because you thought I was pretty and you're hoping to date me.
Yeah.
So
I get it. Fallon, when has this happened to you and what was the end result? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, perhaps I'm just like not thinking of many good examples right now, considering I'm a little tired, but my example's similar. Like I'm thinking in the realm of dating, because I think maybe it's like I'm almost 30. It's kind of like, it's not necessarily a sore subject, but it's a subject for me. And the fact that like I haven't had a boyfriend in a few years, and what does that dating climate look like? And a lot of the reasons that I think that there's like friction or things don't progress is like due to work and how much I work and how much I value my career and my goals and where I want to be. And that not necessarily like aligning with a lot of men's egos probably, and feeling like they need to, you know, wear the pants and be the breadwinner, and just being envious of like the strides that I'm making and the progression I'm making and the success that I have, and not necessarily being able to be supportive, whether they want to be or not. Like sometimes it's just hard to do, even if they like say they want to be supportive, the action is not there. So that's been like a struggle for me, because I'll be honest, like many times I've thought to myself, like, do I need to be like more mysterious or more low key, or like a little less passionate about what I'm doing? Like, am I too much? Am I too loud? Am I too aggressive? And like really questioning those values, right? But again, I'm telling you, like this framework came to me. I'm like, it's 3 letters of framework, JOY, joy. And if I'm happy doing it, like that is what makes me me. And I need to be patient, and that person will come and that support system will come, because I'm not going to change who I am and how hard I've worked. Right. So I think for me, it's probably been a little bit more in that professional light. I'm sorry, personal light than professional, in terms of like dating, that I've really felt like I'm just not the dating version that Fallon needs to be yet, right? Like I need to get there. I need to turn off work and turn on the personal, vibrant, sexy, attractive me. But like, why can't those be the same person?
Yeah, that's perfect how you sum that up, because they can be the same person. They already are the same person, but it, and I've talked about this topic with like older girlfriends that I have. Like I'm 39, and I mean older than me, right? That they are their mindset around how a woman should be, no matter if we're professional, we have our own businesses, work outside the home or not, is like this thing of the way to keep, you know, men happy is to let them kind of win and lead, when we're talking about our personal life. I I fall somewhere in the middle where I'm like, I'm not willing to give up myself, any part or portion of myself, just to make my partner happy and feel confident. I think what's happening is, honestly, females are evolving. We are evolving into the next version of ourselves. And it's up to men to keep up with that. So like the Fallons, the Haydens, the Farissas of the world, we exist because we exist. And the right type of man or partner is going to be the person that you end up with, because they are going to enjoy watching you thrive in your stride, right? And not feel any sort of negative thing against that. They might want more attention here or there as time, you know, it's like, but they have to be able to be grown-ups and ask for that additional attention that they might need in that time, and not like throw a temper tantrum, right? That's just my little 2 cents. But I will say for me, I have bumped up against a couple of these things, and I'm trying to figure out what path to go down in telling the story. But I'll go with the my ad agency. So when I started my firm 12 years ago, I was super young, and I was like combating this like I'm so young thing, and how is anyone going to take me seriously and all of that, with being good at what I do, with also being a Black woman, because in advertising, in marketing, in communications, a lot of the time, you're hired to reach a certain segment of, you know, a brand's target audience. And because I show up looking like what I look like in life, a lot of people would try and put me in a box and say, oh, you just do like multicultural marketing, you do like Black consumer stuff. And I would say, no, I'm a professional marketer. when you are a marketer and a communicator, you understand how to understand who your target audience is, find out insights about them, and like pull a plan together, you know. But I had to give that speech way more than, like you said, Hayden, than I would like to admit, because it was me walking in as a young Black girl. And so therefore, in their opinion, all I knew how to do was marketing to Black consumers. And it took a while, it took a few years of that conversation to get out of that space and do all of it and be seen as an ad agency that can market, that can communicate, that can advertise to whoever you are saying your audience is, or whoever we're telling you your audience should be, and do it. And probably do it better than old white guys, because as a non-old white guy, I understand that there are other groups of people out there that you're probably not hitting with your messaging, right? So it takes time, but you know, to the younger girls who follow us and this show, I would just say keep at it. Like, don't let people put you in a box, especially if you know and you're certain that you have other spaces that you can live and breathe in, because it's up to you. They will only do it if you let them do it, right? It's hard, but it's doable. So that gets me to like this idea of judging, because Hayden brought this up earlier, that women, like, we're the hardest on ourselves, on each other, I should say. We're hard on ourselves, but we are hard on each other, you know? How do we stop judging? Can we stop judging? I mean, what has been you guys' experience with that? You know, like, especially social media, you can be on Instagram looking at people's things and you're like, you know, thoughts, judgments, all these things are going through our minds while we're doing that. What's been your experience with that, Hayden, personally? And how do you navigate like trying not to be judgmental of other people?
So I pride myself on this, and I love this question, but I am notoriously known by everybody that is familiar with my branding for being very, very non-judgmental and very, very inclusive, and someone who promotes it wholeheartedly. And I remind people and will take the time to educate anybody who has anything ignorant to say on a daily basis. I have had men object to me, and then I always come back with a response that's not tit for tat, it's education. And it's quickly dismantling, because a lot of times they just take this approach and it's like, well, let's talk about that. And I'll broadcast it and people will weigh in, and they love it to some extent. You know, I've had people watch my stuff and see me, you know, wearing a Rolex or whatever and go, oh, you got a bunch of money in your divorce. And I'm like, actually, he did. Like, I got this.
I love it.
Like, you know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, and I'm like, and it wakes them up. Some people are just choosing to be hateful, but it's a nice reminder when you take the time to not go tit for tat, not call them a name back, not make them feel, but to educate them. Well, no, actually, that's not what happened. This is how it happened, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, wow. So you do that? Yes. Oh, okay. And then they think about it. Same thing for women. I have women who come to me who are like, you're a slut, because I'm in a bathing suit on my page. You're a terrible mother. And quickly, I will always reach back out to them, because anybody who goes out of their way to send something hateful, one, they've got way too much time on their hand, but second of all, they have something in themselves that they're afraid of. You know, all hatred is built in fear. And I'm like, what about me here suggests that I am what you say is slutty? Honestly, just tell me. So you can see my body, my temple, something that I'm embracing. I'm not suggesting that it's a standard for any other woman. I'm not suggesting that I am asking for anything. I'm enjoying myself and I'm appreciating my form, because as a person and as a woman, shouldn't I be allowed to do that? This is my body. Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of times, and I keep using the bathing suit example because it's such an easy, concrete thing, but it even comes down to, you know, just how I carry myself or how I do things or how I go about things. And it's like, people always assume that everything we do is for someone else. And it's like, why can't that be for me? Why can't I want to be sexy for me? Why can't I wear makeup for me? Why can't I be all of these things? You can tell me why with a legitimate reason. I will openly listen, but otherwise I'm going to educate you as to why we can go about it this way. And I think that that's really the best way that I could answer this.
Yeah, I love that. That just reminded me, like, I'm a huge fan of Lizzo, and she gets this a lot too. And it's like, it doesn't even matter your body type, what color, what race you are, what you do for a living. If you dare show a little, in other people's opinion, too much confidence in yourself, then that is the thing that people attack. And I think it's, to your point, because they're missing something inside. And I watch people hate on Lizzo for being such a self-lover, because her body type is her body type, right? And it's like, why are you hating and judging someone for loving themselves? Like, literally, Lizzo puts on display the love that she has for herself. And people, and I can't even imagine like being that famous and doing it, right? And then like the amount of communication that's coming her way. But Fallon, how do you personally handle checking yourself around judging or, being judged?
Yeah, I mean, as we were sitting here, I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, Miss, I've just read off my 5 Gallup traits, which included like positivity and empathy, but like, I'm not gonna like sit here and pretend like I don't have my judgmental moments. I mean, like probably way more often than I'm even willing to recall, am I being judgmental on social media? I'm trying to figure out like in what ways and like themes do I mostly see that shine through? Because I absolutely do. I think jealousy is something that actually I always embraced with my sisters growing up. Is something super normal to talk about. Like growing up, like my sisters would like show traits, or Danielle was super cool and had the boyfriends, and Miranda was really creative. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling jealous, but I'm going to talk through this, because I think jealousy becomes a really bad thing when you keep it inside. Don't talk about it and figure out what is the core. And I think for me, in the current climate with social, like I notice it often. I'd say the biggest theme is like people maybe taking like credit for work that I feel like, ooh, you weren't like 100% as involved in that as you're saying that you were involved in that. And I think as a publicist, that like irks me, because like I know the hard work that goes into it. And oftentimes I'm like, that took a team of 1 million people and you're kind of taking all the credit for yourself. Hey, guess what? If they're able to kind of craft that message and sell themselves like, hey, A+ from a PR plan, like, do you need an internship? Because I could use that strategy. I think it's always something a little bit deeper within me, right? So I try to question myself now, like, where's this coming from? Where is this? I don't want to call the word hatred, because I really, truly, like, I'll advocate for myself here. I don't think that I project a lot of hate, and I really, really try to work through that if I ever feel the pain of hatred. But the jealousy piece, which I do think is somewhat normal, because we all have like an ego there, and work through where is that coming from? Where is that derivative from, and what's the issue that you need to work through with yourself? Is it that maybe you need a little bit better of a work-life balance? Is it that maybe you should start showing projects that you're involved in but you didn't build A to Z, that you can still be proud of because you had a piece of that and it was collaborative, Fallon? You don't need to be the only one carrying all the weight. Maybe it was like a team effort, or there was a piece of it, or there's a story that could be told there and you can still be proud of it. Is someone maybe doing something that you are respectful of? Maybe it's showing as envy right now, but it's something you really admire, and that's okay too. So I think it's just having those conversations with yourself, having those conversations with people close to you, like your sisters, your friends, and really communicating like when you're feeling those pieces of quote unquote jealousy, because I think that's normal. I think we all go through it, but you have to cope through that. You have to progress through that and figure out where is that coming from. That's just my 2 cents.
No, that's good. I think for me, whenever I have like a judgmental thought, I immediately try to check myself and go like, why do I think that? Because the idea that just one thing is true, I know I believe in that that's not true, right? It's impossible that there's only one way to do something, or only one thing is true about this. So if I'm having a thought like, that's weird, or why would she do it that way? I almost instantly think, nope, Farissa, that's wrong, because just because that's not how you would do it doesn't mean that that's wrong, right? Or that the way that this other person is doing it is like worth a judgment or something. And then too, I've learned this honestly through therapy, to just spend some time then thinking about some things that I can create, right? Like we spend all of our time looking at other people, what they're doing, what they're wearing, what they're making. And if we just spent half of that time thinking about what we want to create, what we want to put out into the world, then we would actually be motivated instead of feeling like, you know, angst and pains of jealousy or judgmentalness or these other things. So, you know, that's how I try and deal with it. But I'm going to shift gears. It might feel sharp, but it really is totally related. Have any of you seen Paris Hilton's documentary on YouTube? It's called,
on my list. I haven't seen it.
okay, it's called This Is Paris. Hayden, have you seen it yet?
And I've seen some of the tidbits from it, but I haven't watched it all the way through.
Okay, I'll just give you guys like high level so I don't spoil it for you guys or anyone planning to watch it. But it really, first of all, I'm a documentary lover. I hope to be able to make documentaries one day. I loved that it showed us a different side of Paris, that for people who are like, you know, Hayden, how old are you? Can I ask that question?
Oh yeah, of course, I'm 31.
Okay, so people who are, you and Fallon are closer in age, like I'm 8 years older than you guys. So Paris and I are like the same age, right? So I've seen Paris, the whole thing, right? So people who know her from the days of her reality show and all of that. Yeah, The Simple Life. Yes, had a very different thought in our minds of who she was as a person, right? But this documentary really unpacks all of that. All the things that you think you know about Paris, you start to understand like none of that is actually the person. And it's really contrived, some of it for, you know, marketing and business and money, some of it out of true personal traumas that she's experienced in her life. And you combine all that and you get the Paris Hilton that we have today. But it got me thinking about judging, right? Like all these people over the decades that Paris Hilton has been a famous person, judging her for her actions and the things that she's been saying and doing. And it's an example, it's an extreme example, but it's like, what if she had enough guts to just be herself in the very beginning, and not create this whole Paris Hilton like persona, and really just show her real self, which I hope, you know, for folks who've watched it, they'll know what I'm thinking about now. But like, I hope that now that the truth is out about like some of the things that she's experienced as a human, that she can lean into that more and like use that as her personal brand, right? So as marketers, because then I was watching, I was like, oh my God, I would love to have Paris Hilton as like a client or something and just be like, Paris, this is what we do. Like you tell the truth, you tell the people the truth, and then you just dive in deeper and deeper and you show them, because that's what people want, right? They don't want this fluff anymore. But anyway, as folks building our personal brands and debating every single day, like how much truth do we give people? You know, how are you guys advising clients in that space, right? Like we have personal brands, but when it comes to like fashion brands or some of the clients that you work with, Hayden, how do you coach them on how much of the truth should be baked into the branding, right? We'll start with you, Hayden.
So this is such a great question too. And I think that with each client, it's different. You address it different depending on what their brand is, what their reach is. You know, if you're talking about a local client that's on a local scale, you have to understand who you're marketing to. And then when you get to the global level, some of the ways that you might be able to discuss things, you have to be so mindful of a bunch of different cultures and how it's going to be perceived across all of those cultures. You have to be thinking about every single person who's going to interact with this. But I think when it comes down to is each brand isn't for everyone, you know what I mean? And I tell people all the time, like, if you really want to create a an audience that loves you and supports you. Some of the people who have the most diehard audiences, they did things that did unfortunately weed people out, but it made diehards out of the people who stayed. And I know some people don't want to do that and they just want to kind of preach to everybody. And I'm like, that's hard. That's a hard strategy. And it's not really, it doesn't resonate. When you think of the best brands out there, they're doing something special. And the people who are involved with it, they really back it and believe in it. And I use that all day, every day with my clients. I'm like, who are you? What are some things about you that you're afraid of? And let's think about how those are marketable, because those are the pieces that are the most relatable. Someone else is going to see that and go, I want to support this business because I'm a single mom too. And some people consider that a weakness. They're like, I'm starting this business. I don't want them to know that it's like a single mom behind it because I feel like it's not going to have the same kind of power. And I'm like, that's going to give it the most power. There's tons of us out here. I was like, that are trying to do this and we want to support you. I'm like, you can't be ashamed of those pieces, you know? And I feel like that's the stuff that you have to be prepared for the backlash, because there's lots of hateful people out there. There's a lot of people, there's so many more people who are going to go, this means more to me now because I saw this. I saw this piece of you that makes it human to me and not just a brand. Not just somewhere I'm tossing money. I'm investing in a person. I'm investing in an entire company that is built on this.
Yeah, totally. Fallon, what about you? How do you coach your clients on how much of their truth should be baked into their brand and branding?
I completely agree with what Hayden just said. So I don't have too much to add. I just think that it's like what I specifically advise is like find 3 things that no one else in your industry is doing that makes you unique. Make those your 3 pillars and build your platform on top of that. So I don't know, I'm thinking of like a random example, but if you're like a makeup artist who's trying to brand themselves, find 3 pillars that have nothing to do with makeup that no one else in your industry is doing, that you're the single mom, that you're a vegan, that you love to do jujitsu on the weekends, and make those the 3 things that you talk a ton about throughout your makeup content, right? So it's like, be as freaking raw as you can be in these things that make you special and unique. Stop trying to fit into the box, right? Here we go. I brought it full circle for you, Farissa, that you feel like you need to be. And it's that like red sea, blue sea concept that we all learned about in our college marketing courses. Like, go find the area to play in that no one else is playing in, and like let your rawness and your authenticity shine.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's a perfect place really for us to end the conversation, because that's it. Like, if everyone is after their own authentic, real self, then that automatically opens up space for people to accept other people being their authentic, real self, right? So the more you're in touch with you, the more you are happy for people to be who they are and show that. So that's the answer. Oh my God, that is the answer to the first question. It's like, we just need to do that. So we need to have self-work, and then all the rest of it falls into place, because then if everyone's working on self, then everybody's good, right? Anyway, you're welcome, world. We just solved world peace.
Solved all these problems. World peace is really happy.
Yes, it's totally fine. We just solved it. So with that, we always give everybody an opportunity.
Danielle says hi, my sister.
Hey, Danielle.
Bye.
I'll call you back. Bye. You can never miss a call from the people you love. This is the work-life balance.
She wants to be on the show. We can just invite her on the show.
I know.
No, but I want to give you guys a chance to just kind of let everybody know what's going on, right? So Hayden, if there's any clients or just like upcoming things that you want to let the audience know, or even if it's just how to follow you, now's the time.
Cool. Thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate time like this where I get to just hang out with other women that are so incredible and that I admire. It is everything to me. As far as my stuff, I would love it if people would, follow us. That's both HVH Marketing as well as 21 North. you know, websites, Instagram, Facebook, all of that fun stuff. And me personally, you know, I'm Hayden Marin, so you can find me in my personal brand and some of that stuff on there, and kind of get to see what some of the stuff we were talking about and the risky stuff that I say and do. And I would love to connect with each and every one of you. I really, really love my women network. I love talking to all of you and being a part of that. And I really encourage you to reach out and connect with me so that we can create that friendship and find ways that we can help move each other forward, because I'm all about empowering one another. So
yeah. Love it. Love it. Fallon, what do you got going on?
Okay, I'm on 6% computer battery, so I'm going to try to say this fast. First and foremost, Hayden, thank you for being here. It's like a Thursday night. You have a million things going on. We just heard so much about your career, your multiple brands, your children, your life. My God, you brought the best energy tonight. And I think that's what makes these PR Girl episodes so, so special. So thank you for being vibrant and sharing your passion, because I know the community here, I know how much they're going to appreciate that. So very excited for this to go live and be shared with all of our amazing viewers. But seriously, that energy is unmatched, so thank you. Okay, as for me, quick tip. So I'm working with this new company, Of Me Medical Aesthetic Studio. I plugged them a few episodes ago. Guys, stop being so focused on Botox and filler and research lasers, okay? Laser, BBL and Halo. I want everyone to check this out. It's like reversing the skin, non-invasive, and basically, okay, so what did the founder say to me tonight? Botox and filler, right? And that's okay. And it's a quick fix, and I get it. It's expensive and you're spending money every few months. That's like ironing your sheets, okay? Washing your sheets is laser. So this is new. I am saying it here first. I'm putting it in the world. Like, Of Me is now in 6 different cities, 8 by the end of this month. That's what they specialize in, are these lasers that really like stimulate your collagen and your stem cells. So it's non-invasive, and it's like your skin and your body working towards anti-aging instead of just kind of like bandaging it. So I'm so excited about that. I spent the entire day talking about it, and I'm like, I need to let everyone I know in on the secret so that we can all anti-age together in a healthy way, working from within without putting things in our face. So that's my pitch.
I love it. We can all anti-age together.
And call me for a discount.
And call Fallon.
20% off. DM Fallon PR.
DM Fallon, yes. Okay. I will say, yes, everything Fallon just said about your energy, Hayden, I love. You bought it, and like Fallon said, our audience will eat it up and love it and be grateful for all the advice and the tips and the realness. And then hearing Fallon say it, I almost started crying. Because I'm so sensitive, like I told you guys earlier. And again, like PRGirl is just an example of one of the things that I created like out of my brain. And then to see it living, breathing, and to see also the amazing effect it's had also on the 3 PRGs, as I call them. I don't think I've ever made that public. I just, in my group text.
I love it. I love the sound of that. I want a team t-shirt.
It's happening. It's happening. So when I see this evolution, right, it makes me as proud as a business owner and a mom, and like all that fuzzy, warm feeling. So I'm so happy this conversation happened. When this episode goes live, Hayden will be taking over the PRGirl Instagram, so they'll get to see even more of you, and everyone is totally looking forward to it. So with that, Fallon, go get some sleep because you're flying to LA again tomorrow. Hayden has another meeting after this, so you got to prepare for that. And I got to like kiss my kids and say hello to my husband.
Tell them I said hi, they're growing too fast.
I will. They love you, Fallon.
I know.
Well, ladies, it was fantastic, and I really appreciate it. And Hayden, we'll stay in touch because now you're.
Anytime you guys want, I would love to come on. Some of the topics you talked about before, I am all about it. Thank you so, so much.
Yes. Well, everyone have a good night. And
have a good weekend, you guys.
Okay.
Bye. See you on Instagram. Okay, bye.